Hi everybody, it's Thursday. We're on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange with Jim Cramer to break down today's market action. Jim, we've got a down open. Is it tariffs and trade?
Finally we have a down open, which is good because we have just been crushed on these up openings. I do think that tariffs, trade, and Trump, storm me for Trump. Tariff because we've got Peter Navarro over in China and he's a bomb thrower. Trade, it looks like there's a slowdown in world trade. We're seeing some PMIs go down. And these are all causing people to panic. Also, don't forget, I've been saying over and over again that Fridays are bad days. Maybe people are listening to me and getting ahead of that and selling on Thursday. I'm not convinced right now that we've seen the low. But I do know that the market's getting very oversold. It was -2 in the S&P proprietary index that I get after the bell. I pay a lot for that, just so you know. And I think that we could go down to -3, -4. When we've gotten to -4 in 2018, it's been a buy. So we're getting very close. I am saying that there are already some stocks to buy. Please check your action alerts for club members. See what we're doing, because I think you'll find it's very contrary to the market. But I think that there are buys here. And we have a gigantic cash position that we have held because we felt we wanted to see the whites of their eyes. And now we're seeing the whites of their eyes. That does not mean we're going to put a lot of money to work at one level. We never do that. It does mean that when you have a down ratio that is 2 to 1, obviously it's not 9 to 1, 2 to 1, you should be thinking about buys, not sells.
And we'll be talking about what stock you're buying this morning on our Action Alerts Plus call.
And obviously we're going to talk about how to handle 2018 at our boot camp. I hope to see you there. Pictures with me, of course. But I do think that what you're seeing is a rotation, and the rotation is going back into the consumer product stories. And a lot of that's been precipitated by Kraft Heinz, which, by the way, fell 40 points from 94, where we sold it for action alerts. We sold it in the 90s, thank heavens. That's when they tried to buy Unilever, all the way down to 54, and yet they beat expectations. Kellogg beat expectations too. So and we've been doing some buying in that group for action alerts ourselves.
And ConAgra with some frozen food prowess.
ConAgra is very good, and it never came in. What does that tell you when the stocks start flying? I like ConAgra because they recognize that, you know what, the day when we have just nothing but paper is upon us. Let's stop making these plastic, too much plastic. Plastic's hard to recycle. So ConAgra is really very much the millennial food company because they do a lot of do a lot of frozen food. Millennials like frozen food, and they have looked at their packaging and switched to paper. I think that Procter at 4% is really interesting too, but they need to make a similar change. They've got to go more paper and less plastic.
And Jim, when we talk about the consumer products category, we have to, of course, mention Apple, something you've long talked about.
Yes, I think that Apple, look, you see NXPI, it's down. That's an Apple component. Cirrus Logic is down, that's an Apple component. And I think what we've recognized is that to buy these stocks, those kinds of stocks off of Apple is wrong. Apple is an installed base story, not a Cirrus Logic or an NXP story. It's an installed base. If you sold Apple because you felt that the Razor didn't have enough parts, in other words, they didn't order a lot of parts, you missed the Blade story. And that's what people are missing. And remember, the Blade story for Apple has incredible gross margins. And you'll see even the Tony Sacconeggis called out negatively, by the way, on Elon Musk call. We'll talk about that. Even the Tony Sacconeggis are recognizing, wait a second, maybe we're analyzing this wrong. Maybe it's not a tech company. Maybe it's a service company based on premium technology that's loved.
And Jim, speaking of Tesla, in Real Money this morning, you say Elon Musk is selling cars, not stock.
Right, Elon Musk for the first time really had a great call. And he had a great call because he said, look, if you can't handle the volatility, get out of my stock. Hedge funds, I'm not going to help you. This is exactly what I've been waiting for. I hope that this is the end of his conference calls, or if he does conference calls, they're really done by people like this fellow Galileo. I say that because the conference calls, to me, have not really given you a true depiction of what's happening at the company. So why suddenly should we be so upset if he just decides to shut up Tony Sacconeggi? What is going on here? Why are people not realizing that Elon Musk doesn't belong on a conference call? I've been saying that all along. I think he now agrees with me. No, it's not personal. Yes, he did call me a hologram, or at least 50% chance that I was a hologram. But I do want to emphasize that the calls have always been irrational. They shouldn't be on anymore. So he ends that call with a bit of rationality by cutting off Tony Sacconaghi with a tough question about Model 3 and costs and how they can, why don't they need money, and cutting off a nice fellow, another firm, RBC. By saying, listen, we're not going to answer these questions about Model 3 and reservations. And I think that's right. Get out of his stock if you can't handle the volatility and stop listening to him. He's trying to sell you cars. He's not trying to sell you the stock.
Yeah, you've long called it a cult stock.
Yes, it is.
Meanwhile, Jim, you coined the term Cloud Kings a few months ago.
Yes.
On Mad Money last night, perhaps a new member, Coupa.
Yeah, I think Coupa, which is growing at 44%, and actually the initial Cloud King was Salesforce, makes it handles it's software that helps Salesforce buy, but also Procter & Gamble buy all of its supplies. And it is a company that really makes it so your purchasing orders aren't repeated, that a company's rationalized. I wish Procter was making more money from it. Procter's kind of interesting as the market heads down here.
Also on Mad Money last night, interesting to hear Dominion Energy talk about how they power data centers for Facebook, Microsoft.
Dominion is the cheapest power. It's a very well-run company. They have they started doing more sustainable, more solar, because that's what their customers wanted. That group that stock's been under pressure because it has a master limited partnership, and it was going to try to fund a lot of its operations with that. But the market's too unforgiving in that group. Look at TCP. But remember, the market's headed down. And what you should be looking for are things to buy into the weakness. A lot of stocks are being thrown away here. I totally respect that. People are trying to get ahead of the Friday selling that we've had endlessly. There is something interesting, and people feel that, I think that people feel that the Chinese think that Trump's in trouble with the law, and so therefore they can play hardball with our trade delegation. That's also in the mix. But I have to emphasize to people that the market's going to be oversold, and I like that.
All right, Jim, we'll watch you tonight on Mad Money, 6 p.m. Eastern.
And don't forget PayPal, honestly. Now I have Norwegian Cruise tonight, a kind of an interesting company. I feel I'm doing it from their ship.
Oh, wow.
I think that'll be interesting. And then one of my absolute favorite tech companies is Proofpoint. We've been riding it for a long time, Gary Steele. It seems to be hiccuping here like a lot of good stocks. It is a company that really helps you protect your email, and you know how sensitive email is in terms of breaking into your institution. So we'll listen to that. And once again, I want to emphasize, we will be oversold by tomorrow. So start picking. We have a considerable cash hoard. A lot of people have been saying, what are you doing with all of that cash? And the answer is waiting. So join our club and you'll find out that we're not waiting any longer.
And for people who want some more personalized advice, come to Jim's teach-in on Saturday, events.thestreet.com/teach-in.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's going to be a good chance to meet me, to talk, get pictures, and of course, listen to PayPal.
Okay, Jim, thank you very much.